Somewhere in your business right now, a customer is finding a problem you didn't know existed. They'll quietly switch and you'll never know why. 85% of problems in your business are discovered by your customers first, long before your team. This makes your customers the unpaid testing team. Every time one of them touches a workflow you haven't tested, you're making a withdrawal from a trust account. The balance shows up on your P&L months later when a customer doesn't renew and you've mistakenly called it a market problem. In this episode, we're going to walk through the user test plan that will help you achieve a launch where your customers' trust gets earned, not borrowed. Hi, I'm Summer, founder of Driven Connection, and we eliminate inefficiencies that stunt growth. So what is end user testing and what is it not? End user testing is real people running the actual workflow before it ever touches a customer. It's a discipline driven by one question. Does this work for the person who has to use it? Sometimes that person is your operator. Sometimes it's a customer, the kind who cares enough about what you're building to opt in and help. They feel connected to the work in a way that no one can build teamwork around. It's not only a software company practice, it's an operational practice software companies have standardized. But you don't need an engineer or a testing expert to run one. You need a workflow, the operator who's actually going to use it, and the discipline to watch what happens. End user testing is the work that earns the project the right to launch. A workflow that hasn't been tested by the people who actually use it is a workflow you launched on hope, and hope isn't a viable leadership strategy. It's how good businesses quietly stop growing. In a few minutes, I'll walk you through a user test plan that you can run on any operation in your business in a single afternoon, software or not. Years ago, a project taught me what testing actually does for a business. I was a product owner on a digital banking platform at a mid-sized financial institution, a 2-year project and more than 30,000 customers who were going to use whatever we built. I was the one writing the test scripts. Late in the project, and I mean late, at the 9th hour, we had to switch vendors. Not only the connectors, the whole platform underneath that we built. The test scripts I'd written against one system suddenly had to be rerun against an entirely different one on a timeline that didn't move. What I learned in those weeks is what I'm telling you today. Our testing did its job. No customer ever called to ask where their money went. But the real value wasn't catching the defects. It was forcing the right conversation between the people who designed the workflow and the people who'd actually used it. Every test script I walked through with the customer service representative surfaced an assumption that had been quietly baked into the design and would have shipped unexamined. The discipline protected the launch, and it built a workflow that fit reality. If you've launched anything in the last decade, you've said one of the 3 things out loud, maybe all 3. We don't have time to test. Industry research has shown for decades a problem caught in design costs 1 unit to fix. The same problem caught after launch costs up to 100 times more. Rework alone, fixing what wasn't tested, routinely consumes 40 to 50% of total project cost. Those are inefficiencies that you've already paid for, and they show up on your P&L as costs that you will never recover. The no time to test math runs backwards. The vendor said it was ready. I've sat in this room before. You signed the contract, the vendor demoed the platform, and the slide deck said go live. And on launch day, your team discovers what ready was measured against the vendor's checklist, not yours. The platform runs, the workflows your team built around never made it into the demo. Vendor readiness means their system runs. It doesn't mean it runs in your business. They tested function. Your team never tested fit. We've always launched this way, and we've survived. This one is the most expensive because it sounds like wisdom, and it isn't. It's survivorship bias dressed up as experience. A leadership decision to outsource quality to whoever finds the defect first, usually customer. AI-generated workflows compound the problem. Recent research found 20% of vibe-coded applications, the AI-generated kind, built fast and shipped fast, have serious vulnerabilities. The foundation under your next launch is more fragile every time, and the customer who finds the bug doesn't know you used AI. They just know your product doesn't work. Here is the part business leaders almost never hear in operations conversations, and it costs them now and at exit later. Decades of operational research consistently shows the same thing. Only 5 users testing a workflow surface roughly 85% of its problems in a single morning, with real operators doing real work while you watch. That math should end every "we don't have budget for testing" conversation in a room, but it rarely does. The reason isn't budget, it's professional logic. Most leaders were taught operational testing as a cost center, when the truth is it's a valuation lever. In operational due diligence, acquirers look for one signal above almost any other. Does this business run on documented, validated workflows, or does it run on a leader's nervous system? This is the question about organizational design, and the answer becomes a line in a term sheet. Untested workflows get flagged as significant investment needs post-close, and they directly reduce purchase pricing. The range is between 5 and 15% of valuation, depending on the buyer. For a business doing $5 million in revenue at a 4x multiply, that's $1 million paid out of the seller's pocket, and the P&L hit lands where the responsibility already lives. And even if exit is years away, the same math runs in reverse. Every untested workflow is a reoccurring cost you'll never see line itemized. So here's the reframe. A user test plan isn't a tax on your launch. It's a deposit on your exit. 5 end users, 1 morning, 5% of valuation. The math isn't subtle. Let me give you 2 cases. They look nothing alike, but they are the same in principle. In 2018, a UK retail bank migrated its core banking system over a single weekend. 5 million customers onto a new platform underneath, with inadequate end-user testing before the cutover. By Monday morning, customers were locked out of their accounts, transactions were misposted, and the bank's online and mobile services ended up being down for weeks. The independent investigation later concluded the rollout had been launched against a platform that real users had never tested properly. Final cost? More than £330 million. The CEO resigned, and around 8,000 customers left. None of it required new technology. All it would have required was end-user verification before the migration weekend. Now contrast that with Disney. Before a new attraction or expansion opens at a Disney park, the company runs what they call cast member previews, operational dress rehearsals where employees and their families ride the attractions, eat at the restaurants, and use every guest-facing service. Real people, experiences, and conditions. Every operational gap surfaces in the preview, not in front of the paying guest. Disney didn't build the most consistently rated customer experience operation in entertainment by hiring better designers. They built it by making operator-level verification the last step before any opening. The cast member is the verifier, and the attraction opens when the verifier says so. Same principle in both cases. End-user verification before something dangerous goes live. The UK bank paid for the lesson on the P&L. Disney built the lesson into the operating model. Here is the user test plan. 3 steps. Any leader can run this in a single afternoon on any operation in your business, software or not. Step 1. Write the test script and set a pass-fail bar before you build. Define what working looks like in a plain sentence. Define what past looks like in advance. The test script is your operational definition of done. For a software workflow, that might mean when a customer clicks add to cart, the item shows up in their cart in under 2 seconds, with correct price and the right shipping options. For a non-technical workflow, say a new client onboarding sequence, it might be when a contract is signed, a client receives a welcome email within 1 hour that names their account manager, and includes the kickoff calendar link, and confirms the 3 next deliverables. The format is the same. The principle is the same. If your findings exceed a pass-fail bar, the workflow does not launch. Delay the launch, not the testing. And here is the first quiet gift this step delivers. If you can't write the test script, you don't yet understand the operation well enough to launch it. The clarity that forces is worth more than any defect it eventually catches. Step 2. Pick 3 to 5 real end users. The operators who use the workflow every day. The person who built it doesn't count, and neither do you. You're too close. For a software product, that might be a customer service manager who handles support tickets, a sales coordinator who routes inbound leads through a CRM, and the real customer from opt-in beta programs that has volunteered to help with your testing. For a non-technical workflow like a new billing process, it's the accounts receivable specialist who'd send the invoice, a finance assistant who'd handle the exceptions, and someone customer-facing who answers billing questions every week from real clients. 5 users will surface roughly 85% of issues that your workflows have. One morning of their time, they cost less than rework, and they'll often save you from a launch that would have damaged a relationship you've spent years building. Step 3, run the walkthrough. They narrate, you watch, you don't help. Hand each tester a printed copy of the test script. Ask them to do the work as they normally would. When they hesitate, write it down. When they take a path you didn't anticipate, write it down. When they get confused, don't intervene. Every workaround they invent on the spot is something a real customer will encounter and won't figure out. The hesitation, the confusion, the wrong click, every single piece of that is data. Score every observation against the pass fail bar you set in step 1. If you're above the bar, you launch. If you're below the bar, you fix and retest. Go live is earned, not scheduled. That is the user test plan. Write the script, pick the users, run the walkthrough, earn the launch. That's the difference between a leader who launches and a leader who tests before launching to get real results. The customer never sees the test, but they feel the result of it. That's the kind of trust no business borrows. It compounds when it's earned. So before your next go live, ask the simple question, have the people who used it actually used it yet? You're learning, you're growing, and you're building a system-led launch process where every workflow earns the trust your customers place in it. I'm your host, Summer Ames Prodan, and we'll fix another inefficiency on the next episode of Driven Growth.